that a nation that decides to believe that a nation that decides to hobble along on elections that are not properly done cannot expect to move well. There will be prices to pay. And unfortunately, those who will pay the prices are the people of Nigeria, starting with the poorest people, not with people like me. I would generally, no matter how they badly rule Nigeria, at the state of it, I will eat every day. But there are people for whom it's a matter of life and death. And we will keep track of how things are going. Talking of courts, I hope that among other things which we should review about our electoral process, this court, I do know that there are countries not too far from us where they have a specific court for these electoral cases. And that court adjudicates over electoral grievances and concludes everything before anybody is sworn in. In our own situation, Obi and Atiku can be in court for the next 3 years.
Absolutely. It could go well past the...
And I thought they used to say, when your lawyer comes, please ask him what it means. They used to say that justice delayed is justice denied.
Yeah. I'm getting worried about your chain rubbing on your microphone.
I'm trying to keep it in check. Yeah. So I'm thinking that this gives us an opportunity to look again at that whole arrangement whereby you have a serious complaint about the election. The court takes its time and they must take their time to judge it. And meanwhile, the person declared a winner continues as a leader, a ruler, until maybe after a year or two. We have seen it done with regard to governors, which are more or less in this regard.
Well, it took Obi 3 years to
but
have
before
this
then,
case.
somebody else was ruling.
Yeah.
Somebody else was ruling. Those 3 years, were they legal years, legitimate years, morally? These are issues that we must raise. But I do believe that Nigeria, as a giant of Africa, you can still borrow a little from the smaller countries, and we can rearrange our situation such that electoral grievances should be settled and done with within a time that it will be gone, finished and done by the time you are swearing in somebody. You swear in someone who is now President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Commander-in-Chief, and he should be appearing in court over a allegation. To say the least, it is not neat.
That's a good point. And do you mind if I ask who you voted for and why you chose that candidate? Because it doesn't sound like you voted for Bola Tinubu then.
I don't want to repeat what I presume the mistake of my president, who voted and say, look at whom I voted for.
Well, it's after the fact now. So.
I will your viewers and so on, probably from the way we are our conversation is going, they probably arrive at the conclusion you have arrived, that I didn't vote for the declared winner. But let's just leave it at that.
Right, okay, well that's understandable. Nigeria, of course, as you said, often seen as a country with enormous potential, but which spectacularly fails to live up to that potential. So, given all the disillusionment that clearly exists, some of which you mentioned, particularly amongst young people, what do you expect to happen in that regard under the new president, Bola Tinubu, assuming he does get sworn in as president?
Assuming he does become my president, let me say this. I have not arrived at that conclusion yet, for the simple reason that the process of the election is still going.
Yeah, but you sometimes have to think ahead and say, given that the history of this country, there's never been a presidential election overturned.
And that doesn't mean it will never happen.
Yeah, I know, but
otherwise there will be no provision in law
right.
for the election to be challenged in court.
Yes, that's a good point.
So my mind is still ready, open, to have any of the three as my president come May 29th.
But assuming it becomes Bola Tinubu.
Assuming, okay, which is a difficult task to assume, but I can't.
it's a concept that you can't quite get your head around.
Not now, not at this point, not at this point. I am not prepared to start speculating how the nation would be.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be speculating off-piste because he is the president-elect. Yeah. So you would not be speculating about something.
President
I mean, the trajectory at the moment seems to indicate that he is going to be sworn in on at the end of May.
That I do not understand this trajectory, and definitely I'm sure Peter Obi and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar does not agree with this.
Yeah, but you may not accept it, but it becomes an ineluctable fact.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Whoever is president of Nigeria and becomes legally so declared becomes my president. I give him the respect of a president, and I will still continue to in my utterances, in my actions as a fairly mature Nigerian citizen, to give good advice to him, and I would expect him that now that he's president of Nigeria, he should act as a president of Nigeria, not as a contestant in an election. Because by that time, the campaigns are over.
Right.
And in particular, there is a bad habit that has become ingrained in Nigeria, that people who win elections feel that they are only they are there to look after and take care of those who voted for them. We hear in my small Kogi state, we once had a governor who had a map of the state, and he painted the state depending on the amount of votes he got from different parts of the state.
So red means I won't go anywhere near you lot.
My place in Kaba, we didn't vote for him, we're all red. Which means forget it, for as long as there you won't get anything. But that is unjust.
Yeah, it certainly
is. It is unjust.
Yeah, and it's undemocratic as well.
Unjust. Yeah. Because once you are declared a president, you are the president of the whole country.
Absolutely.
Both of those who voted for you and those who didn't vote for you. Which we should even carry the matter further. All this time, we've only had a situation where a political party wins election and thinks that the whole burden of governance falls on them. Everybody else must sit back and watch them, which is not right. After winning election, the country has to move on. Everybody must be brought on board. I'm not saying that you should make the leader of the opposition your minister of foreign